Welcome to the Faded Spade Podcast with your hosts, Tom Wheaton and Sean McCormack.
Welcome back to the next episode of the Faded Spade Podcast. My name is Tom Wheaton, founder and CEO of Faded Spade, with the illustrious co-host with the most, the poker boss, Sean McCormack, and a special guest. She is a 20-plus year industry veteran, vice president of global tour management for the World Poker Tour. She is, and I'll let you say this, she is the most recent GPI Poker Industry Person of the Year. I know you have a little dig for Sean. Currently coming to us from Australia, please join me in welcoming Angelica Hael to the Faded Spade Podcast. What's happening, Ange?
Hi guys. How you going?
So let's do this. So we got to throw the needle. You're not just the most recent industry person of the year, but you are.
I just want to say I am the first global poker industry person of the year. My illustrious colleague over there, Mr. McCormack, the poker boss. Yes, he's got one of those babies there, but mine is, show us the hardware. Here we go. My hardware is in the office, in the headquarters. I can't show it off, but mine is the first global one.
And yours is gold too. Like seriously, like come on, Dennis. Like we didn't have gold back in 2016. Come on, you're killing me.
So do you use it to needle Matt too? Do you needle Matt a little bit with that?
Well, he was the first one. Like typical savage fashion. He is the first one that said, well, you're not the first one. And I'm like, mate, this is the first one. This is the first global one.
There it is.
So yeah, there it is.
Well,
hello, Matthew. I know you'll be watching and hearing this.
Take it, Savage. So there we go.
Yes.
Let's dive in to the career story, the untold career story, and all the fun things going on with the World Poker Tour, but most importantly, all about you, Ange, the first global industry person of the year. So you know the purpose of the podcast, Ange, right? We were talking about it beforehand. This is to share that story, and along the way, we'll talk about advice for people who are coming up their path in the industry. But before we get into all that, tell us about your roots. Tell us about where you're from and all that fun stuff.
Before we delve into that, I just want to say, of course I know about yours and Sean's podcast and stuff, but, leading up to this, I just wanted to see, the format and, just get a feel for what I can expect. And I tell you, mate, like, I freaking really enjoyed it. I watched Kerstetter's podcast, Sam's, Joey's, and, that's what I just can't believe that it's taken a while, to get something like this off the ground, because really it's, there's a lot of podcasts out there, but, I listen to them and, and watch it online as well. But, I felt that this is really just so authentic.
Thank
right.
you.
I felt that, I was getting a real insight to, the chat, as we would say in Australia, the chin wag, right? It's just free flowing, there's no fakeness. Did I say that word there?
Thank you, Ange.
So it's just really refreshing, and I'm a huge fan. So hopefully you guys keep going on down this path, because it's you have a fan in me here.
Thank you, Ange. We appreciate that.
Thank you
very
Ange.
much.
And I'll step in real quick. You know why there's no fakeness? We still don't know what we're doing. We have no clue what we're doing. We just Tom just goes, I'm going to hit the record button, and there we go. It's like having a conversation. Like we just don't know what we're doing.
But I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, a couple of minutes ago, it's just the three of us, right? And now this is being recorded for all eternity, but it feels like the three of us, are in Vegas, having drinks, just talking shit, and just, I don't know, it just feels nice. It feels authentic. And, congrats guys, because it's very hard to have this sort of platform translate into this. And, hope to see more of this type of stuff from you guys.
I appreciate that, Ange. So, and no, we did not pay her to say that. So,
no. guys, if there's something you know about me, yeah, I call a spade, and it's always sometimes gotten me in trouble, but fairly straightforward person and straight shooter. So, no monetary exchanges needs to be made. Comes from the heart, and it's legit. So
I can be honest. If this wasn't her cup of tea, she'd have picked up the phone and she'd have been like,
"Screw that,
Sean, do you really think this is the path you want to go down?"
Yeah.
And this would have been scrapped after episode 2.
Yeah, no, but you guys know me, and it's real. This exchange, and the people that I've had the pleasure of seeing online, via your podcast. So yeah, it's all
Thank
good.
you, man.
I love it.
That
Appreciate it.
means
Thank
so
you.
much. It means more than you know. So let's dive into it. Now and we will receive that and be thankful. So your roots, tell us all about Ange and where you're from and how you came up in this wonderful world.
Yeah, well, I mean, a couple of decades ago, I was at uni, and I was looking for a job that will enable me to, earn some money and go to school, at the same time. And I originally come from Melbourne in Australia, and I became a dealer at Crown Casino. I worked 10-hour shifts 4 days in a row so that I can have 3 days off and go to school. And I did that maybe for a year or two or something like that. And then I transferred over to table games marketing.
Oh, wow.
And it so happened that 1 year, Party Poker was the sponsor of the Aussie Millions. And I was basically the conduit between the casino and party. So things like, their buy-ins, being facilitated across international wires, their hotel, the things to do in Melbourne, your seating assignments. I mean, it was everything, it was the first time I think that we had such a massive online gaming sponsor for Aussie Millions. And then so, over the course of a breakfast, I think it was, one of the executives over at Party basically said, Ange, what do you think of Gibraltar? And in my head, and I was like, what the fuck is Gibraltar? But I'm thinking, oh, that's great. It's a wonderful country. I mean, at least I knew it was a country, and I kind of had an idea where it was on the global map, but I have no idea exactly if I could pinpoint it. And I said, I heard, things about it and stuff. I also know, I think that Yoko Ono and John Lennon, I think, got married there. So I think that's why it was, a little bit in my head. And he's like, well, what do you think of moving there? And, at least my dumbass brain kind of figure out, holy shit, this is an interview, right? I'm about to offer a job here, what's going on? And sure enough, it was. And then, I was like, my God, this is awesome. I just fell from the sky. I'm never going to get another opportunity like this. So at the time, my husband now, but who was my boyfriend then, I said, babe, pack up your bags. We're going to Europe. It's sweet, so pack up the bags, get on a plane. But of course we had to wait for the visa and stuff. It didn't take very long. And we spent, a couple of wonderful years living in Spain, because Gibraltar is connected with Spain. Mm-hmm. And so, a lot of us who work in that industry, chose to live, in Spain rather than Gibraltar. So we had some of the best times of our lives over there. My liver got absolutely decimated, so many countless, and yes, if my children watch this, I was clearly over 21 when this was happening. So just, full disclosure, one day you'll Google this, mommy did not do this under the age of 21.
Water and soda, soda and water, they do numbers on the liver, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then, we stayed there for a couple of years, and then we decided to get married. And I said, okay, let's get married. My husband, who's Australian, but is of Turkish descent, has a huge family. And I knew that if we got married in Spain, we're going to get freaking disowned. So, pack up our stuff, go back to Melbourne. But, on the way, we met some, really cool people like Tom Hall. So I don't know if you know Tom, but,
No.
Asian Logic, just one of global gaming industries giants. Like, he's just like a really awesome human being. He's been in the industry for a long time. Really cool guy. And so he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm en route back to Melbourne getting married. And he's like, well, do you want to do some work? And I said, mate, I just came from Spain. Like, I have to get married. I have to live in Australia for a while. And he's like, well, you can do some consulting for us, for the Asian poker tour. He owned, his company owned Asian Logic. Asian Logic owned Asian Poker Tour. So I said, yeah, cool. I'd love to work alongside with you. And so I did, some consulting for them and stuff like that. And then, then we lived in Melbourne for I don't know, I think about 5 or 6 months or something. And then, my husband gets offered a job over in London, working for the BetClick group, Mangus Gaming. He's also in our industry. So we're like, babe, let's go, pack up our bags. Let's, shoot over to London. So bang, we get there. And then I had no plans to work. I was literally, my plan was to, pop out some kids, be a museum bum, go to every single museum in London, be a connoisseur of like, castles and all this sort of stuff. And that's it. That was my first year plan, my first year of wanting to do that in London. But 3 months after living there, I found out that I was pregnant. So I was true to Ange's timeline. Yes, this is definitely in line. This is part of my checklist, to-do list, blah, 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 type A personalities and all that sort of stuff. And I get a call 3 days later, and it was the CEO of World Poker Tour then, Steve Heller. So he's like, Ange, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm going to be a museum bum. I'm going to be doing this and, cafe, try all the cafes and watch people, from the streets, just go on with their life. And he's like, Ange, I have this awesome opportunity. Like, I'm like, oh, okay. What is it? And he's like, you get to start from scratch your own department, looking after the global, tour operations and management of the World Poker Tour. And I'm like, oh my God. Like,
right.
Oh my God. Like, and this is over the phone. So I was like, this is huge, Steve, but I've just like relocated here. Like, my mind was in turmoil. I don't know. All I know is this is a really wonderful thing, but I don't know what it meant for my husband. He just moved to London. He has his own career and all this sort of thing. And I said, can I get back to you? And, not mentioning that the fact that I'm preggers. I just found out. So I talked over to hubby, and like Ozzy goes like, babe, you're crazy if you don't take this. Like, there's certain things in life that just comes, so rarely. And, for something like this, you don't know when it's going to happen again. So I was like, thank you, God, thank you for for making me be married to this dude.
Yeah.
And, a couple of days later, he calls me again, Steve, and he's like, have you thought about it yet? I said, yes, this is awesome. This is the one thing that I've been waiting for a long time. Thank you so much. But I got to tell you, Steve, I literally just found out, 3 days ago that I'm pregnant.
Okay.
And he's like, awkward, not awkward, but like silence. And,
right.
And I was like, my fucking heart's just like sank to the bottom of my stomach. Right. And I'm like, and then he goes, Ange, I'm pretty sure there are hospitals in the United States. So as long as you don't mind having an American baby, we don't care. We don't mind. So boom, there you go.
Amazing.
This was March, when I waited for my visa, and it I guess I was a little bit naive because when we first lived in Spain, it was relatively quickly. So I thought, it's not going to take too long, but I'm getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm like, this baby's coming. I have no idea if it's going to be born in the United Kingdom or if it's going to be born in the United States. Getting bigger, getting bigger. And when I was 7 months pregnant, I flew to Los Angeles from London. I met my 1.5 team members. I had the half is because I have to share her with another department. And I said to Steve, I said, Steve, if my visa doesn't come in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, I think I'm going to have to give birth over in the United Kingdom because I don't think the airlines will allow me to board the plane. You know, I'm going to be one of those people that give birth midair. Like, I don't want that. Like, that's definitely not something I want my children Googling or something. Like, no good. And so, yeah, I ended up popping him out in London, and then still the visa did not come. So we thought, while we waited, we might as well go back to Australia. And all this while, I was building this department, from London.
All from London, really?
From Australia. So it took about a year for the visa to come through. So that's kind of like the history of how I got to this spot.
What year was it that you actually started working for the World Poker Tour?
2010.
Okay, 2010. So 10 years.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Okay. So before we got to World Poker Tour, when you were working in the industry and you just started in the industry, was it like this immediate, unbelievable passion for it that you felt, or did it take time?
Yes, absolutely. So when I was a dealer, I was taught blackjack and roulette, right? Yeah. And they're fine, they're intriguing and stuff. But man, when I started dealing poker and that, when that card just, it was just like, it was awesome, and the characters that you met, because, like they're characters, right? It takes, it's awesome to see the varying degrees of humanity that you deal with on a day-to-day basis. It's never boring. So yeah, I was hooked, but unfortunately I didn't get to deal too long in poker, but my pitch is pretty good.
Well, you could probably teach me. I'm the founder of a card company and I can't deal worth shit, and Sean's a really bad teacher, so I'm just going to come work with you. So
I'd love to see McCormack and I on a pitching, challenge or something. I think you'll smoke me. No, I take it back. I take it back. No, I take it back. Yeah.
I'm putting my money on Ange. Sorry, Sean. So, all right. So you immediately felt this passion, right? And it's probably that passion and your skill and everything that just propelled you through your career. I think what's so cool when I hear it was that all these things kind of popped up. I don't want to say out of nowhere because you earned them, but it wasn't like you were planning to do that or planning to do this. And every single time it was like, okay, wasn't expecting this. We have a decision to make. Tell me about how important that relationship is with your boyfriend and then husband making those decisions together, because, we're both married, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers and listeners are married. Yeah. Those are times where it takes absolute teamwork to make those big decisions. So tell us about that.
Yeah, mate, I tell you what, like, I hit the freaking jackpot with, when I married that man. It's true. It's, I think a lot of relationships probably, I'm not saying I've got a perfect best relationship. Oh God. Oh,
nobody does.
The last couple of years being freaking hellish, and he would, full disclosure, my husband knows this. I also told him that, there might be some things that, that will come out of it, and, but true to his character, he is the type of person, he's actually the best person to take shopping with, right? And hear me out. This is why. I know I'm digressing, but
let's do it.
I want to give you a snapshot of what this man is, right? So I knew he was going to be the man for me very early on in a relationship, because I took him shopping, and he is just, I tried on a dress, and the first thing he goes, he says, babe, your ass looks massive in that dress. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you. Thank you for saying that, right? Next shopping trip, trying on some jeans. He's like, babe, you know, you look like you have a huge muffin top. Please don't wear that. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the man of my dreams. He tells it the way it is. He cares so much, and he doesn't want me walking out the streets looking like a muffin top.
Yeah.
So anyway,
God bless him. Have him call me so I could take lessons on that shit.
Oh,
He
man.
should. He really should. I mean, I think
That is good.
more women need to hear this shit. Like,
No,
they really do.
I tend to be the same way as well. I mean, I feel like all of us right now are like more direct people than indirect people.
Yes.
And then maybe I'm speaking more for myself, but I gravitate, and it seems like you guys do, gravitate towards other direct people, right?
Yes.
And it's like, because there's a respect there and appreciation for it. But at the same time, man, that could also lead to some really fun disagreements.
Life's a gamble. We're all in the gambling industry. I mean, sometimes you just got to go for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I also
But,
love your
you know,
phrase,
it's-
pop a kid out. That's a phrase I'm going to start using. I just popped him out. And where'd you pop your first kid out again? Was it England or the US again?
I popped one out in United Kingdom in
There you
London,
go.
and I popped another one in the US. So
Hey, there you go.
yeah. I have a legitimate American kid. That is
Love
right.
it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. But yeah, it's you know, it's a constant struggle, and I think, you know, with us, you know, I guess, as I said, you know, full disclosure, it's not been the easiest last couple of years and that sort of thing. But you know, we are going towards the same end point.
Yeah.
Right. We might deviate from the journey, you know, going left, right, and center, getting lost along the way. But, you know, ultimately we know that, you know, at the end of that point, you know, that end of your life, you know, I've always said to him that he's going to be the sharer of my retirement home. You know, I said that very, very early on. We knew that, you know, from the start. And so it's been a difficult, you know, couple of years, but, you know, we have the same goals. We have the same trajectory. We have the same path that we want to take. That end point, we know where it's going to be at. So
Yeah, I love it.
it's important.
My wife and I talk about it. Sometimes there are periods in life where you just got to survive so that you can thrive. And I believe in that. Like, that just happens in life. There's going to be moments where everything is going really well, and there's moments where certain areas are not going great, but if you can survive through it, and then the thriving is right around the corner. So
Yeah.
all right. So the other thing I wanted to ask was, because I've dealt with this in my career, I know many other people have too, when you're not expecting to get like one of the couple offers you got and you have that decision, what advice would you have for people who maybe aren't sure of, do I make this move? Do I take this risk? Do I take this new job? Like, how did you kind of work through that in your mind? And what advice would you have for people in that same situation?
Yeah, no, sure. I mean, you know, when I first got approached to work, you know, internationally over in Gibraltar and stuff, I mean, I was young, early 20s and that sort of thing. And so maybe, you know, I was a little bit more, you know, braver in thinking that, you know, I'll just get on a plane. I had no mortgage. I had no kids. I had no, you know, pets. You know, I had no one, nothing that really depended on me. And so, you know, it was an easier decision, obviously, because I had Aussie as well, and it was like an adventure of a lifetime. You know, let's go and try this out. But you know, I tell you, mate, like, you know, part of me was, you know, had some trepidation, because you know, I was more excited than anything, but, you know, a part of me is like, you know, well, am I doing the right thing? Like, Australia is such an awesome place. Like, you know, I don't speak the language. I mean, for one, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I had like 100 Spanish words that I knew, and most of them were like food, you know? So like, you know, I guess, you know, there was a little bit of, as I said, trepidation, but, you know, at the start, you know, that was the start of my career. And so I thought to myself, well, what have I got to lose? You know, if the worst thing that could possibly happen is I hate it, but at least I can go back home to Australia and say, you know, I lived in Spain, I gave it a crack, I had a go, and then on to the next, you know. But I know, you know, to take that kind of leap of faith, to kind of say, you know, don't worry about the language, don't worry about the culture, don't worry about any of this, just go for it. I think sometimes, you know, it does take a leap of faith to do, you know, to do something like that. Yeah.
Fear of
at any stage of your career.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
it doesn't have to be at the start.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not scared or if you don't have fear, then it's probably not worth it, right? And
Yeah.
fear of failure is a real thing. I mean, I remember I didn't start Faded Spade for so long, like 2 years, because of fear
Yeah.
of failure. And I know,
Yeah.
Sean, you know, certain things you were implementing at the Aria when you had just got there, if you were fear of failure, you wouldn't have done it, right? And now look at Aria, one of the most global iconic poker rooms, you know,
Yep.
in the world, really. And
Yep.
I kind of look at it like that. If you're scared of something, recognize that it could be fear holding you back, and just sometimes you got to take that leap of faith. So I love it,
Yeah.
Ange.
No,
All right,
absolutely.
so you get to the World Poker Tour, and you know
Yeah.
I am a huge fan of the WPT family.
Yes.
We know Faded Spade are the preferred cards of the World Poker Tour. It is truly a family, right? It really is.
Yeah.
So you get there, though, and a lot of the people who are there now, it seems like, weren't necessarily there when you got there. Seems like.
No, that's true. Yep.
So
Yep, that's true.
what did they task you with doing first? Like when you got this job, like what was your mission?
Carte blanche.
Really?
Here's a blank piece of paper. You just go and figure it out. You just, you know, make it. I mean, you just make it happen. You know, and that's probably one of the scariest parts, right? Because you know, when I first joined, you know, WPT is such a massive global brand, right? It's like, you know, I am now tasked with this. And, you know, I had thought when I first joined that it would have like hundreds of people, because obviously it's a global conglomerate. I freaking walk in there and it's like, it's 1.5 people that's, you know, that I have. And so, you know, it was exciting, you know, but it was challenging, because I have no idea. I looked at, you know, the global map. I'm like, okay, well, where are we, and where do we want to go? How do we get there? What am I going to need to get there? How long is it going to take? So, you know, the financial analysis, the time frames, the development, all this sort of stuff. And, you know, I'm trying to figure it out from London and from Melbourne, you know, and all these conference calls and this sort of thing. So, you know, it was not an easy task, but definitely, you know, a great one, a great experience. And, you know, talk about, you know, jumping in with your both feet and taking a leap of faith. I mean, at that stage, you know, you just kind of like have to figure it out. But it's really a testament to the corporate culture that we have, the culture of the company, because I don't think there are many outfits out there that's just gonna, you know, let you do that. And, you know, and I'm talking like 10 years ago, and fast forward to 10 years later, it's still the same thing. You know, Steve Heller isn't there anymore, but, you know, the ethos and the principle remains. Like Adam Pliska personifies that. You know, it's such a flat hierarchical structure. You know, you have him as the CEO and president, and then you have your vice presidents, you know, reporting to him, and all those people, all those business units are responsible for the P&L of their you know, of their division, of their department, and you have carte blanche to basically shape and do what you think, you know, it should be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's phenomenal. I've just never really heard many companies like that, maybe startups, but WPT isn't a startup. You know, we're like coming into our 19th season. So I don't know, mate. It's just, you know,
That's a big reason why you're coming into your 19th season, is that type of culture. I think so many corporations, you know, and, you know, I've been in the corporate world for a long time before Faded Spade, and Sean as well. And there are many corporations that restrict innovation, right? And that ultimately hurts. And WPT, I think, is one of those organizations, those rare organizations that embraces innovation and embraces empowerment and embraces people to do their best and follow a vision, you know, under a strategic guideline, of course. But that's amazing. So do you remember how many stops or countries you were in when you started?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe just a guess.
Estimate.
5.
Okay. And how about now?
21.
I knew you'd know that. And how many stops?
We're in 21 countries. By the end of season 18, which is when TOC concludes, that'll be the end of our season. We'll be in 21 countries. 6 continents. We're going to
Yeah.
bypass Antarctica because there's just a whole bunch of penguins there. There's nothing, you
Yeah.
know, I already did the biz dev there. There's not much there.
No, yeah.
You know, but yeah, it's
So think about that. 1 decade
yeah,
from then to now,
yeah.
and you were the person leading the charge. And I know you love your
No,
team. I
there's a
know,
lot of people.
I know you love your team. I know everybody, but I knew you were going to say that. So I was trying to like, oh wait, quick, say that. But like, I know how much you love your team. I know how much you appreciate people, not just that work for you, that work with you and around you. So
Yeah.
talk to us about that team. Like, what did it take to go from where you were 10 years ago to like now in terms of growth? Because I'm sure it all wasn't easy.
No. So, I mean, you know, I probably, it's like anything in life, right? If you want to be successful, it does take, you know, the right people to be around you. I mean, it sounds so cliche, doesn't it? Of course, you want to be successful, have the right people around you, but try and freaking find the right kind of people around you.
Right.
It's not easy.
No.
Oh my God. Like, you know, in the 10 years that I've been with the company, I mean, you know, it's never, you know, it's the most unpleasant part of my role when I have to let someone go because it's not a fit. You know, it's not working out. But my God, you know, guys, you know, I have, you know, you guys know the people I'm about to, you know, to speak with, but, you know, Sam and Kathy, Karen, you know, Steve and Keta, you know, Danny McDonough, Matt Savage, you know, Hermans over in Europe, and Joachim over in Europe. You know, and we have a new person that's recently joined us. I think he's like 2 weeks old. Vlad, you'll soon be seeing him around town and stuff. I mean, these people, I think it's, you know, it's just, it's, this industry of ours is not for everybody. I mean, you know, it sounds glamorous, like, oh, you don't have to work 9 to 5 and all this sort of stuff, but it's hard. And, you know, because of the global nature of our company, you know, specifically my department, I mean, you know, it's very rare that we're even in one place together, you know. So when people say, when they join my department, say, oh, I love traveling and stuff, I'm like, mate, do you really love traveling?
Get ready.
Because it ain't like, you know, jet setter lifestyle with champagne in the right hand and, you know, nice, you know, warm, you know, almonds or something like that on the left hand. No, you know, it's you know, it takes a lot of toll on your body, you know, your mind, you know, and yeah, it takes, you know, and to be constantly on, right? Because again, it's not a normal 9 to 5 job. So when you're hanging out with players and there's a player party, right, and it's going until midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then you're starting up the following day because it's day 1B of, you know, over at the Aria for the WPT, you know, TOC and that sort of thing. I mean, you got to be fresh. You got to be on. You got to be like, you know, still professional, even though you've done some serious damage in your liver, you know, 6 hours ago. So it's yeah, it takes a special type of person, you know, I think in my department, you know, and I think people like that, you know, it's in their DNA. You know, that's why it's not for everybody. You got to be born with it already. You got to be, you have to have been born with it and because you can't manufacture it, right? You can't, because you can only go so far, right? After you've hung out at the Bellagio and Aria and the Seminoles and all that beautiful, you know, 5-6-star resorts. I mean, it's, you know, it could be a grind. And, you know, if you have those rose tinted glasses and think that this is the way, you know, it's the work life is, it's not, you know, it's really that balance. And, you know, I'm just fortunate that, you know, over a decade, you know, I've surrounded myself with people like that, you know, David Gitter, Matt Clark, Warren. I mean, come on, you know, like, how can you function without these people, you know, around you?
You know, Ange, I'm going to hop in for a second. And, you know, I actually commend you and your teams for being able to do exactly what you're talking about right now, because I know I don't have it in me. The traveling part would kill me alone. You know, a lot of people are tasked with traveling the world and being entertainers, and that's tough work. Of course, it's tough work. I don't want to discount anything that they do, but you and your team are not only tasked with being entertainment for your client base, for your guests, and for other people's guests, your partner's guests. That's such a huge thing. But not just that entertainment part, but also the poker intelligence part, to be able to bring it all together. So I commend you guys all the time. I think you guys are far and away have the best talent and understanding of what the poker market and the poker player base actually wants.
Thank you. Yeah, that's again, it's and we do it in 60 plus a year, in 21 countries and 6 continents. That's what I mean. It's sometimes, I'm at fault sometimes because I sometimes take it for granted that I'm just surrounded by these people that are just built like that, right? Mm-hmm. But now, I from time to time, I have to remind myself, mate, like, you're lucky because they're not like freaking mushrooms. Right. They don't grow on trees. Right. And so when you have them, I gotta, try and hang on to them because they're a rarity for sure.
You mentioned it takes very special people, but it also takes a very special leader. And I would say that you are still doing, and your team is still doing a whole heck of a lot with a very lean team. Same thing with David, a whole heck of a lot with a very lean team. Yes. So what advice would you have for other leaders, regardless of industry, who are tasked with having to do a lot with a lean team and still want to keep that culture of family and that culture of appreciation? What would you say to those folks?
Yeah, I think what it is you have to find, to me, it's like a jigsaw puzzle, right? It's a very lean team. It's a very small team, but a lot of they're very complementary, how we all fit, right? So, one of my weaknesses is that I'm not a very good, necessarily a teacher. Right? Unless you're like my kid, and even my kids would probably say, Mom, like, can you be a bit more nicer or kinder? They've said this a couple of times. Yeah. So
every parent hears that. I think I heard it today. So
it's like, come on, get your books and blah, blah, blah. And, I'm not happy with anyway, that's a different podcast. But, I don't know what to tell you, Tom. It's you have to have the right fit. You have to have people that have where there's an area of strength. These people would have areas of weaknesses and stuff, and so you try and find somebody who can fit that all into it. Sometimes they don't always, and it's not all the time, right? People will have their off days, and it's not everyone can be on. Not everybody have the same stamina and all that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, if you need to have the right balance of people, and it's so much harder. It's really I commend people who Adam Pliska has one of it's a skill, it's a real talent to find the people. It's like what you said, right? It's a global company, but there's only a handful of people that makes that tick worldwide, with all the different business units and departments that we have. And so he has to find these people that can run with it and be entrusted to grow the business and that sort of stuff. So it's it's a skill, and but like all things, skills can be learned. And so that would be my advice, hone, identify that and hone it.
Yeah, we all have strengths and weaknesses, and I feel like half of leadership is identifying your team's strengths and weaknesses, and then pairing people up on tasks that accentuate those strengths. And and then also one thing I'll say that I always notice whenever I'm around the WPT family is leadership by example, right? Yeah. So I guarantee you, everybody on your team sees you roll up your sleeves and do the hard work, and it makes them want to do the same thing. And same thing with David and his team, and Adam and his direct reports, and so on and so forth. So I think lead by example is something I definitely see, and something I would also give advice for people who are in that spot, except for,
Tom, I don't know if you can exactly call golf clubs Matt's direct reports.
I didn't say Savage.
Oh, Mark, yeah, Matt Clark maybe, or he probably does yell at the golf balls too. Like, I told you to go in the hole. I told you to get over there. Yeah.
I swear, Savage, if you're watching, we decided to needle you a little bit before the podcast we started recording.
Yes.
So it's all out of love, my man.
Yes.
All out of love.
Yes. Just like family, mate. That's exactly what happens.
So, all right. So, we're now present day WPT, right? And I'll back up a little bit here before we start talking about present and future. But if you could pinpoint one or two of the things that you would say were this like great accomplishment or something that you feel like really evolved the company over the last 10 years that you were a part of, like what would that be?
Yeah.
Kind of putting you on the spot.
Yeah. The global expansion is definitely, top of that list for me anyway. And when I'm talking about the global expansion, I'm talking about the tour that, the global tour that we have, being in 21 countries and that sort of thing, but also our reach, right, on the linear side, the TV side, and the distribution side. So both of them are distribution. So you have the distribution, you have linear, which is your normal, your normal channel of TV and stuff. And then you have this burgeoning market for us, which is the OTT platforms. And really, like, a couple of years ago, I'm like, what the hell is an OTT platform? So, now I know that it's film and TV content that's distributed, via high-speed internet. Yeah. What is that? That's Netflix. That's Amazon Prime. Yeah. That's Hulu Plus. Yeah. And so, combined, I think, on the linear side of things, the traditional way of watching TV, I think we reach like 140 million people around the world. And then this OTT platforms that we're talking about, I mean, it's just skyrocketing. It's like, is it 86.5 million people? I was talking to Johnny McMahon, our VP of distribution. And so, that's one of the things that's like, that's massive when you think about it. The ability of to reach that many people, right? And so, there is this relentless, never-ending pursuit to try and plug in as many people into the poker ecosystem, right? I'm not just talking about WPT. I'm talking because what's good for us, what's good for the industry, we know we're going to be the recipients of that. But this never-ending pursuit of like, how do you put more bums on seats? How do you get more people to watch, poker TV? How many people can you get them interested in, social gaming? All these types of stuff, right? That's one of the primary drivers, that we have, that we want to achieve at WPT. So on the tour side, yes, global tour. Let's go to Cambodia. Let's go to Taiwan. Let's go to India, right? On the TV distribution, let's ink deals with people like TV Azteca, right? The WPT show is on the #1 sports channel in Mexico, watched by millions of people every freaking day, right? That's Spanish-speaking people. Yeah. That's LATAM. Even like in the United States, we have I don't know the statistic, but is Spanish the second most spoken language there? I mean, we're reaching people, in their language. And then the other front is the OTT platform. So, you buy your new nice Samsung TV or your LG TV, bang, there's already an app there that you can watch WPT. So that's, those are the things really that, that I say, company-wide, is a wonderful achievement, during the time that I've been here. Wow. And then more recently, us going into esports. Yeah. I don't know if there has ever, and Sean has been crucial, in this endeavor, but I don't know any other time in our industry or any other organization that's been able to have 6 casinos in the US and 5 gaming commissions all agree that, your televised final table, let's go and have it at the esports arena in Las Vegas. How do you have 6 iconic casinos say, yes, we're going to, we're on board with that idea. And then the gaming commissions to say, yeah, let's go and do that. So those two things like really, stick to my mind, in terms of like achievements and accomplishments, because they're just huge,
Yeah.
And,
What an undertaking. What an undertaking. And I remember being at one of the first productions at the esports arena. And it was just like, I can't even imagine the work it took to get there, let alone the work it takes to pull it off. So,
man, sweating bullets, I tell you.
Man,
Sean,
I remember.
Oh my God. You're going through the gaming commission approvals, them wanting to have a pound of your flesh and a drop of your first child's freaking, pinky toe. I know, it was so difficult, and, testament, kudos to Sean and, the MGM, Resorts family and Seminole and the Gardens and Borgata, Commerce, Choctaw, like, these partners, they believe, they're supportive. They understood the vision of where this was going. And so again, you're talking about, things that, we need to have in order to have successful enterprises and businesses. It's, it's people, and it's the right partners.
And so you mentioned Sean, so I got to ask a fun question. When did you meet the poker boss? And and I feel like I said this before, like I feel like I just want to give you a hug because I know what it's like to work with Sean. And so when did you meet the poker boss? And tell me that story about how you guys met and started working together.
Sean, when did we first meet? 2000. Did we meet at a bar? Was it at Aria? Which bar was it? This sounds like, come on, help me out here.
We met in December of 2012 at Bellagio when I was running the poker room after Doug Dalton retired. And Steve Heller was still in charge, and I still have, I don't think we hand these out anymore, the WPT guide, which you opened up and was my goofy, unshaven, young Tom. I gotta show you this. This one's in the archives for a long time, but I still have it.
I get it.
It's Steve Heller on one side and then me like this, because it was like the first big tournament I ever. I went from like shift manager, ops manager, basically running the biggest poker room in Las Vegas. And 6 months later, like, yeah, we got to do this big WPT event. We need you to get a ballroom, and we need to get them all this.
Yeah.
Space, and we got to make sure the lawyers are good. And I'm just like that. They took the all right smile. I was like, I was scared out of my mind. And then I'll tell you who told me everything was going to be all right. And if I'm correct, she's right there. It might be different on your screen, Ange, but you're right there. So
yeah. Oh man, you're right. Yes, absolutely, it was. Yeah.
So my embarrassing two stories. We already did the first one with Lynn Gilmartin, and I don't know if Ange knows that story. I'm sure you heard her podcast though with us, but yes. Lynn Gilmartin walks in the poker room, and I'm standing next to. Remember, you used to have before the electronic screens, you had just the posters of the talent.
Yes, the pop-up stand. Yes.
And Lynn is on my 6 here, and here she comes walking in the room. And I'm just like starstruck, and it doesn't even matter anymore. So I just look at her, and I look at her poster, and I said I would never admit this, but I podcast it to the world. And I looked at it, and I go, oh my God, it's you! And my voice went up that high. So yeah, and then we met each other, and you're like, it's okay, Sean, let's have a drink, it'll be fine. And
there you go.
So honestly, you're a big part of my career, and I have to thank you for everything where I am today. You've definitely helped me out with a lot of things, and I know I've always been able to lean on you and call you. And sorry, I watched the Kobe tribute today, so I'm a little sensitive. So yeah. So, anyways,
this is what it's all about. This is exactly what this podcast is all about, right? I mean, you said it. We're trying to be. We're authentic and genuine, and like I love how this is a forum for communication a lot of times to tell people what they mean to you, and then also to share that type of great advice out to the world. So I love it. This is great.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
I feel like we should all be having a glass of wine right now, but
Oh,
I think it's a little early your time, Ange.
Mate, like,
I got it.
yeah. Again, when you Google these children, it's, all in moderation. That's all I'm going to say.
Amen.
Yes.
All
Even when
right.
it's 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. I don't even know where to go right now. All right. So,
Perfect.
so present day WPT, right? So I think we call it up to present day WPT. And you've got the combination of Allied Esports International and World Poker Tour forming Allied Esports Entertainment. I hope I got that right.
Yes.
And you've got a couple times a year, 6 to 8 television productions for World Poker Tour final tables happening at the HyperX Esports Arena. So this has been a huge undertaking that is now happening. So what do you think is in store now for the company now that esports and poker is kind of, I don't want to say combined, but working together strategically? What do you kind of see happening in terms of these two industries working closer and closer together?
Yeah. So we got purchased by Our Game International Holdings back in 2015. And so, one of their primary and core business was already in esports. I mean, they were, in China, in Japan, Korea, they had footprints, all over there already. And so fast forward to actually last year, we went through and finalized the mergers and acquisitions. And now we're listed on the NASDAQ. This was like back in August of last year. And so, it's, it comes at a very, very interesting time. I think, again, going back to that ethos and principle that I was talking to you about that never ending pursuit, to try and get new blood into our system, to try and get new players, new fans, new viewership, new aficionados of the game and sport of poker. I think I think we have a blank canvas in front of us, and I can definitely tell you that there's lots of those things cooking, in the R&D department, and it's nice that you do have one company. So it's not like, you're, one business unit, but it's one company. It's listed under NASDAQ. It is, we have the same sort of goals and the same, trajectory of, of wanting to be really successful in both spaces. And so it's, it's an exciting time, for sure. So, just have to watch your space, mate.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what happens, especially long term. I mean, no doubt if there's any organization that's going to continue to help innovate the entire industry, World Poker Tour is that organization, right? So I'm very looking forward to see what happens there in the short term, in the near term, Ange.
Yes.
Let's say this thing drops. Let's say it's the first week of March, right? So what's coming up for the World Poker Tour in March, April, and May?
Yeah. So we have, wow, you put me on the spot here, but I think in the month of March, we have 12 global events.
Wow.
Right? We are in, oh my God, I think we have multiple stops in the US for our deep stacks.
Yep.
We're over at, Jacksonville. We have, my God, we have LAPC. We have Rolling Thunder.
I'm going to pull it up right now and we'll highlight them.
Yeah. We're in Barcelona.
Yep.
We're about to announce one more event, I think this week, that's going to, to be added there. But last count, I think we have 10 global events taking place in the month of March. And obviously, the 3 televised final tables over at the Esports Arena. So the Gardens is taking place over March 31st. And then the Borgata Winter Poker Open final table is on April 1st. And then the Commerce one is April 2nd. So, there's 2 periods in WPT Global Tour calendar where it's just manic and insane. And, that's when you have to really channel your inner Zen or whatever things you need to, to have in your arsenal. But September, October is the first one. But the March one is just, off the charts. Venetian is there. I mean, it's just, huge, massive events for us globally. So,
and you go back to the esports arena in May, right? For another set of TV productions. Is that right? All right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Okay, so May 28th, I beg your pardon. I think it's May 29. We have the Seminole Poker Showdown, and then Choctaw follows that, and then we have TOC. May 31st, June 1 and June 2.
I'm impressed you remembered that off the top of your head, because I would have flubbed that.
I mean,
so bad at that, and you're like, I got this,
mate. Like when you're staring at the WPT Global Master Schedule, it's like embedded, imprinted in my subconsciousness. So yeah, I can rattle them off.
Well, I will 100% see you in May. I'm not going to be able to make the ones in April. But I will 100% be there in May. I was hoping to be there for another reason when I played WPT Borgata. We got far, but we didn't get that far. So that was the dream. 40th birthday, final table, but the dream fell short. It's still a great time.
Man,
I will say, man, what a tournament you guys put on at the Borgata and at the Aria, at the Bellagio. I've had the pleasure of playing in those, and obviously other tour organizations, the more I've gotten back into tournaments. And without a doubt, the WPT puts on the most player-centric tournaments in the world.
Yeah, thank you.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it in terms of like a pie, right? It's like a triumvirate. Like, a third of the pie is WPT. The other third is our casino partners. Yeah. And then the third are the players, and without those three sections, those three parts of the pie, it doesn't work. It just really doesn't. And so, it's a testament to people like Sean, who are so supportive of WPT, loves the players, understands, the nuances of what it takes to have a successful event. And then, for sponsors and partners like you, Tom, and Faded Spade. I mean, where is WPT without Zynga, without Hublot, without Baccarat Crystal? I mean, it's those types of partnership that, that really makes, the whole ecosystem work and be cohesive. So, yeah, it's, those are the not so secret ingredients of longevity and success.
Well, hey, where's Faded Spade without the World Poker Tour? I mean, we were obviously a small family business growing faster than I thought, but we would not have the growth at the pace we have it, or the credibility we have 2.5 years into it, without World Poker Tour taking a chance on us, right? Yeah. Or Sean taking a chance to put the cards in play during TOC. So I think our industry, and I think that's one thing that I hope these podcasts show too, is that our industry is one of the most supportive industries to everybody that works in it. Yeah, there's competitive spirit, but the support that even competitors have for each other, or that partners have for each other, really goes unmatched, right?
Yeah, I 100% agree. 100% agree. And that's one of the things that I think attracts new blood into our world, right? Because once you're in it, you kind of, you're in a select, cool club. Yeah. And not everybody will get it. Yeah. But once you get it, you're in it. So that's
and you better not mess it up. Right.
Or if you mess it up, try and fix it. Yeah. Don't do it again. Yeah.
So all right, I almost forgot. I also I wanted to say this: WPT Deep Stacks, end of March in Jacksonville at Best Bet. Sean, fly to town. I'm playing that thing. You should come play. Yeah, of course. Good. Yeah, just talk to Jesse about it. I'm going to play in that thing. Sean, come on, fly to town. We'll have a last longer bet. It's going to be easy money for me. So easy money.
Sean, come
on.
He's
not biting.
I'll just take a glass of wine. I'll just take the glass of wine. It's all right.
Sean, that's dead money ready for the pickings, mate.
My dead money to him. Have you seen my Hendon mob?
All right. We're having too much fun now. This is great.
My Hendon mob is less than the buy-in for the 10Ks you played. So let's not even go there.
God bless
can
you,
afford to
State.
play.
It's easy when you actually cash in your first 10K. People actually think you might be good. So, but here's the thing: Ange could destroy both of us. We get in a cash game with Ange, we're dead money, man. I've heard. Oh, come on. What does your Twitter say? It says you are a type of fish. What is it?
A barramundi. That's an Aussie fish. Yes,
Okay,
a barramundi. Yes, yes.
Well, we got a flounder, a barramundi, and a trout all hanging out on the Faded Spade podcast. So
Sweet. I love it.
All right, Ange. As we wrap this up, I appreciate it. I know we've gone about 10 minutes over what we had scheduled, but if you had, a piece of advice, I'm going to put you on the spot, but if you had a piece of advice for anybody in their career, in the industry, heck, even out of the industry, who is trying to get in with a great company in the industry, what would you give that? What type of advice would you give that person?
I think not just for poker industry, but just knowing from my own experience and stuff like that. Like at the start of your career, you just have to get in the muck, right? You gotta roll up your sleeves. You gotta do the hard yakka. You gotta do the grunt work. You have to be prepared that you will need to do the work. And I think that paves the way for many things in your life, not just your business, but your personal life, right? Like, nothing worth, what do they say? Some smarter person says that when you work really hard, you more appreciate it and that good stuff. And
some quote, nothing worthwhile comes without
nothing
effort.
Ventured, nothing gained.
I don't know.
Oh, there you go.
I'll figure out what it was. I'll put it in the quotes.
That's why he keeps me around.
I'm going to change Poker Boss to Confucius, right? Confucius, the Tower of Zen, that is McCormack over there, but...
All right. I actually,
really feeding the ego.
Since my rude host, I don't know which way it is on his screen, but didn't ask me if I wanted to say anything else before we were wrapping up.
I was about to. I have it right here.
Uh-huh.
I was about. Will you please let Ange finish her wonderful thought?
No, Sean just put the exclamation mark on that, mate.
Oh,
like,
almighty.
Roll up your sleeves, get in the mark, work your ass off, and then cross your fingers. Hope you get lucky, and luck plays a part. Come on.
It does.
All right.
It does.
I have 3 things in my notes here. I keep notes, by the way. The first one I'm going to butcher. I'm going to go back about 10 minutes, but I'm going to say something because you asked if Spanish is the second most spoken language in the United States, and I will say, sí, el español es el segundo idioma más hablado en Estados Unidos. So there we go.
Wow.
Yes, it
Muy
is.
bien. Perfecto.
Wow.
Yes. So there we go. Now on to something else. I want to go to 2 quotes that you had when you were coming up after you were nominated, not before you were selected for Global Person of the Year. I have to say global.
Yes, that's right, mate.
Hey,
that's right.
I still have time. So
yes, you do.
So the first quote I'm going to tell you is something that I can very much relate to. When myself was up for the award back in 2016, you said, look at the list of people that I'm against. My odds of winning are minuscule, but I'm so stoked. And that's just, that's so humbling. And because it's exactly, I actually equate our professions and our career paths kind of like pretty similar. And I think we can relate in a lot of ways. You were up against Ty Stewart, Carrie Katz, Rob Young, and Matt Savage. I mean, you were up against titans of
our industry.
All of them have pushed the game forward many years, and they're in the public spotlight more than you are, more than I am. These guys are always in the spotlight for doing something, and to win amongst them. And I was up against Tony Burns, Matt Savage, and your very own Adam Pliska. So I was up against these massive. I thought I was the nut low. I was 4 out of 4. Somehow there's only 4 of us. I was 10 out of 4. I looked at these guys and I'm like, my God, these guys are in front of the camera. They're charismatic. They know how to entertain a room. We all know I know how to do that, but I don't get to do it like this, like they do on the grandest of stages. So, and I feel like we have that in common. Like Adam gets the stage a lot more. And when you need to take the stage, you're ready to just roar, which is awesome. But it's hard when we get sometimes compared to these people. Not that we're not just taken back by it, but it's just it brings me into your other quote, and I'm going to ask you a question off it. You said these people are titans, and you just used that word again, titans in this industry. To be included amongst them is overwhelming. So my question to you, from a personal standpoint, and to help people coming up through the ranks like we did at one point, because I too was a dealer at one point, how do you deal with being around people like that and still try to shine? Not so much outshine them, but just keep up. Because I'm overwhelmed with it every day. I still feel that every day. Certain people, like, you know, just that I've been lucky to be around, Mr. Baldwin and just massive Las Vegas Titans. You know, my new president, Steve Zanella, has been around forever. You know, Steve. Yeah, and so many Titans that I'm around every day, not just in poker, but in this corporate world I live in. So what would your advice be to other people to not just look at them? Obviously, you want to look at them and you aspire to be like them, but to fit in the room. How do you do that?
Bloody hell, man. I don't know. I think you just need to be you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's, you know, people have this, you know, inner radar when they know, it's what I was telling you before about, you know, being genuine and, you know, being authentic and being real. And so, you know, I think you have to just remember that they're just people. You know, they have the same you know, trepidations and fears and strengths that you know that everyone shares. It's, you know, so it's so universal and stuff like that. And so, you know, when I'm around these people, I don't know, I just have a beer with them, you know, have a chin wag, have a chat, you know, enjoy the space, absorb the knowledge that, you know, that comes from them. And yeah, you know, I don't really know if there's a secret to it. You know, I just always remember they're people just like me, and, you know, they have the same you know, issues that I have. Maybe not the exact one, but everyone has issues and that sort of thing. And so, yeah, you know, be yourself, and you know, just be you.
That's awesome.
Do you be you, right?
Do you be you. I like it. And
this has been...
Lastly...
Oh, okay. Hold on. Sorry, Sean. Jeez.
That's what happened, mate.
I'm trying to be respectful of time, but the poker boss wants to go off.
When you have when you have a bunch of mates like this, I told ya, it's like being at a bar.
Hey, I'll hang out for another hour.
Alpha. This is really bad.
Keep going, Sean. This is awesome.
So, last but not least, about 2.5, 3 years ago, the United States, America's Got Talent. We have this young 7-year-old come out with this name, Angelica Hael. I have to ask, how many people can't Google you anymore because of this girl? Or they look for her and find you?
Oh my God, I'm telling you, like, I can't count the number of times that I've been asked if I'm related to her, right?
Sure.
So, you know who this Angelica Hael is?
I remember the name, but I've never put the two things together. I just haven't.
Google her. She's amazing.
She's like this,
talented. She's
this angelic little human being with a voice of, like, oh my God, just a chorus of angels will come from her. And she's, you know, and she happens to have the exact name as I do. The difference is that her surname is Hale and I'm Hael, right? But like I get so many like, are you related to her? And I'm like, mate, I wish I'm related to her. She's freaking famous and she's probably loaded. So yeah, I wish. But I already Googled that we have no relation. Maybe I'll do ancestry.com or me23 or something to see if there's a connection. But yeah, I wish, mate. but I do not. But yeah, she's awesome.
I'll tell you this. We might have our Angelica Hael in the United States, but the world has their AGT from Australia. Australia's Got Talent, Angelica Hael. Australia's Got Talent. So
if you've watched the pod and you know at the end, Sean always has.
I do.
This is high production quality shit we're dealing with here, Ange.
I love it. I love it. Oh my God, guys. Oh, that's a pisser. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Tom. I can wait. Amazing. I can prepare, I can do this, lots of times. Not this thing, but just, I told you guys, when we first started, I was like so stoked to just like see you guys. I haven't seen you in a little bit, but I'm glad I'm going to be seeing the Poker Boss next month, and then I'll be seeing you, Mr. Wheaton, during TOC. So yes,
can't wait.
Happy about that. Yeah.
All right, Sean, am I good to go into our close now that we're? Am I all right? Can I do this? I mean, Ange, thank you for spending 20 more minutes than we had scheduled. I appreciate it. This has been awesome. Anytime. I will say this was by far the most authentic podcast we've had. Not putting anybody else down, but we started talking about authenticity. We ended talking about authenticity. I'm so glad you took that time to do it. So what I will say is, on behalf of the Poker Boss, Sean McCormack, on behalf of the Vice President of Global Tour Management for the World Poker Tour, Angelica Hael, and myself, Tom Wheaton, thank you for tuning in. We hope that you got some sort of value from our time together. We'll see you on the next Faded Spade podcast.